There's a massive assumption baked into our culture, and honestly, into a lot of modern religion. It's that God is essentially a ticking time bomb. We picture him sitting on a hair trigger, incredibly impatient, just waiting for humanity to step out of line so he can finally unleash his rage. But when God lays out his own identity blueprint in Exodus 34, the third trait he lists completely dismantles this myth. He describes himself as slow to anger. Welcome back to Disciples for Jesus. I'm Sarah, and on this channel, we explore faith in a practical way. So far, we have gone over the compassion and the grace of God. Today, I want to bring us back to something that we sort of touched on in the first video. And that is, I'll get into it in a minute, obviously, slow to anger. We're going to look at what that phrase actually means and in its original language because the ancient imagery behind it changes everything, and it's important that we understand the proper context and the meaning of these words. Quick side note though, I want to warn everyone now that I am not good at saying some of these words because unfortunately, I haven't studied the ancient Hebrew language, but I will do my best and I will make sure that these words flash on the screen. In English, the phrase slow to anger sounds kind of abstract, but it just means someone doesn't get mad quickly. But Biblical Hebrew is a deeply concrete physical language. It uses the physical body to describe abstract concepts. The phrase translated as slow to anger is erek apaim. And if you translate it literally, word for word, it means long of nose. Long nosed sounds like a bizarre insult, but to an ancient Hebrew speaker, it was a brilliant, vivid idiom. Think about what happens to your physical body when you get genuinely furious. Your breathing speeds up, your body heat rises, and your nostrils flare. In the ancient world, they associated anger with the heat rising up through the nose. So if someone is hot headed or has a short fuse, the Hebrew idiom was that they have a short nose. The heat escapes instantly. But God says that He is Erek Paim. He is long of nose. It means it takes an incredibly long time for the heat of his anger to travel up and flare his nostrils. It's the ancient way of saying that God has a massive fuse. His default setting isn't a hair trigger, it is a deep, agonizingly long patience. Let me try and paint a visual picture. Does anyone know who the oldest living person was in the Bible? If you said Methuselah, then you are correct. Methuselah was the son of Enoch, he was the father of Lamech, and he was the grandfather of Noah. He lived 969 years. Make sure you hold on to that number, okay? Roughly translated, his name means his death sends. The year he died was the year that his grandson Noah and his family entered the ark. And I think we know what happens after. Methuselah's very name served as a divine clue or warning. His death would mark the sending of judgment, the great flood described in Genesis. But let's be honest, this brings up a massive tension. Slow to anger still means he does get angry eventually. And if you read the Old Testament, there are plenty of passages where God's anger burns pretty hot. So, how do we reconcile a compassionate, gracious God with a God who experiences wrath? To understand this, we have to ask a fundamental question. What makes God angry? If you look at the narrative of Scripture, God's anger is almost never sparked by petty rule breaking or ego trips. God gets angry when humans use their power to abuse, exploit, and destroy other humans. He gets angry at systematic injustice. He gets angry when the vulnerable, the poor, the orphan, the widow are crushed by the powerful. Think about it this way. If you love someone and you see them being abused, manipulated, or destroyed by someone else, what is your natural reaction? If you actually love them, your reaction should be anger. God's anger is not the opposite of his love. His anger is a byproduct of his love. A God who never got angry at the human evil that we know is out there, he wouldn't be a loving God. He would be an indifferent monster. God's wrath is his fierce, protective refusal to let evil have the final word in his world. Because God is Erek Paim, long of nose, he doesn't just wipe out evil the second it appears. Why? Because if God instantly destroyed all evil in the world, he'd have to destroy us too. We all contribute to the brokenness of the world in our own ways. So instead, God waits. He gives warnings. He sends prophets. He allows generations of human history to play out, constantly giving people the space to turn around, learn, and change. But here is the danger of a long fuse. We often mistake God's patience for permission. Because the lightning bolt doesn't strike the moment we do something wrong, we we actually just sometimes assume he doesn't care or that he isn't watching. The ancient writers warned against this constantly. They said, don't take his kindness for granted. It's meant to lead you to change. God's patience is an invitation, not an endorsement of our mess. So, is God a ticking time bomb? No. He is a fiercely loving creator who holds back his justice for as long as possible, giving us every available chance to choose a better path. He is slow to anger, but what keeps him waiting? What anchors that infinite patience through centuries of human failure? It's the next two traits in the blueprint. It's what the Hebrew text calls his hesed and emet, his loyal love and his faithfulness. And that covenant keeping, relentless love is exactly what we're exploring in episode 4. If this video helped change the way you picture God's heart, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below. How does changing the phrase from slow to anger to slow of nose change how you view him? Thanks for watching. And as always, walk in faith, lead with courage, and serve with love. God bless.